The bride keeps getting mad at everything we say or do. Have you guys ever had and encountered a bridezilla? Luckily, all the weddings I've ever stood in or been a part of, all the brides have been nothing but lovely and chill and good vibes all around. So I have not, in fact, had to deal with a bridezilla. Let's knock on some wood that doesn't happen. What? I just had Lila mouth right there. That's gonna sound so weird. But you know how Shih Tzus have like that, have that underbite? Lila has that. She has the cutest little like, Anyways, I'm hyper, I'm spun. It was that 6 p.m. coffee that I had before filming. I know, crazy. I'm gonna be up so late tonight. I can't wait. So this story was fresh at the beginning of this year. It came January 28th, 2025. I'm a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding in June. Some backstory. My friend is currently in university and has an upcoming medical school interview, so she has been very stressed. Burp. A little baby. No need to get angry in the comments. It was just a little baby. No more coffee at 6 p.m. Since she got engaged in the summer, she has had no idea what she has wanted to do for colors. I and the other bridesmaids suggested that she order some swatches from Azazi so she could start building a color palette. That is where I get all my bridesmaid dresses. If you guys didn't know this, quick little tip, they actually have this incredible program where you can order a bunch of dresses and pay like $15 and just try them on and then ship them back, like included in that. It's phenomenal. Just check it out. At Christmas time, she still hadn't determined her colors, but she wanted to go shopping for her flowers at a local silk florist. Originally, she wanted to design her own bouquet, but before even going shopping for those flowers, she ordered $400 worth of flowers from Temu, all of which she isn't using now. Now that she has her flowers picked out, she still can't come to a decision on colors for her bridesmaid dresses. She originally wanted to get dresses from Park and Fifth, so she went to the store and tried them on herself and loved them. Her sister, who is her maid of honor, hated all of the dresses because of the style. They were form-fitting and silk. This past weekend, I got a text from the bride to show me the colors that she had chosen. There was a dusty lilac, agave, yellow, blue, and peach. She asked which color I would feel comfortable wearing. I said any color she wanted me to wear, I'd more than happily wear it. We love a chill friend. She then said that wasn't a good enough answer. Oh, okay. And that she wanted my opinion. I said again that any color would be good. So she picked purple for me, and that was good enough for me. She has said to us bridesmaids multiple times that we can pick whatever dress we want as long as we are comfortable. But then she asked me to send her the top dresses I liked so that she could pick. I agreed, and I sent her the ones that I liked. She asked out of all of them which one was my favorite. So I told her, and then she said it wasn't hers and that she preferred a different one. Then why ask? If you're just gonna choose anyway, why bother asking? I said to her that I wouldn't be as comfortable in that one if that is what she is concerned about, but I would wear it happily. She asked for some time to think about it and said that she would get back to me. About an hour later, she was freaking out after thinking she found her bridesmaid dress colors and then realizing they didn't look good with her flowers. So she asked for advice, and I said if she went with her gut and stuck to only agave, am I saying that right? It's agave, right? It would look beautiful with her other color, navy. But then she said she should have simplified her flowers if she wanted bright colors. It became a whole thing, and she can't change her flowers now because she already has them. I also explained to her that out of 1,000 photos her photographer will take, 10 to 15 will be her bridesmaids, and also her photographer has a very muted style, so that will also change the colors in the picture. Then all of a sudden, she flips a switch while I'm telling her that all of these ideas are all very pretty and it will work. She then says, quote, I think agave is the way I want to go. I think it'll look great on everyone, and I'm not asking this time, I'm just going to be telling. Got it. At that point, I was so confused because she wanted our opinions as to which color we liked. Only 2 of the bridesmaids got to pick what they liked. I told her I would wear anything. Then she said that she doesn't want to come across as pushy, and I told her she wasn't being pushy. Finally, I asked if she was looking for opinions or for us to tell her that we didn't like the color she wanted us to wear. It's her wedding. But she's so wrapped up in what other people think that it's inhibiting her to make a decision. I said the only thing that's making her sound pushy is when she tells us we can wear whatever dress we want, but that she wants to pick the dress. I explained that if she wants us to feel comfortable, that's not how you go about that. At that point, her fiance texted the other bridesmaid to tell her to casually mention to me that I was being rude and that the bride was incredibly offended that I didn't like her favorite dress because I liked my favorite dress. Help. See, my mind, gone. It would be lost because I would lose it. But the bride never communicates when she's offended about something. It ended up being a whole thing, and I later apologized to her for coming across as aggressive. But I also said to her that if she's seeking opinions and advice, she can't keep getting mad when someone gives her advice or opinions. Bear in mind, for my wedding, this girl is also my bridesmaid and told me the dresses I wanted for my bridesmaids were ugly and that she wouldn't do the hair how I wanted it done. She seems like a real gem. She later tells me she won't kick me out of the wedding and that my opinions and advice are incredibly valuable to her. But every time she asks for my opinion, she just gets mad at me. So I've determined she's seeking validation and just wants everyone to agree with her all the time. That's my bridezilla story. This is incredibly exhausting to me. I wouldn't even give my opinion at that point. My opinion is do whatever you want. That's my opinion. That's how I feel. Whatever you want. We have updates though, as you can guess. The first one came 3.5 months later. We are at May 12th, 2025. I have a cute bow in my hair and you guys can't even done see it. Can you see the water I spilt on myself though before I started filming? Probably. This weekend, the bride had her bachelorette party. We are from Manitoba, editor's note, in Canada, so it's the bridal party's job to plan and pay for the bride to attend. The weekend began on Friday at 7 p.m. We all drove to the bride's condo where her and 2 of the other bridesmaids live. We went to activate and had a blast. We came back after that and had snacks and drinks and did a lingerie shower for the bride, ended with some games and went to bed. Saturday was where crap hit the fan. We went for brunch in the morning and then went to a pedal pub. The bride decided it would be a fantastic idea to order 2 punch bowls, margarita and mojito. Wonderful choices. I actually love both of those drinks. I hate tequila on its own, but when it's in a margarita, you don't even taste it, you know? At the first location, and she had about 15 cups of it. I would be dead. She was drunk by our first stop, but at her bachelorette, she can enjoy herself. Then we had 2 other stops where she continued to drink, and then some of the girls wanted a sangria tower and all hated it, but had to drink it anyways. The walk back to the vehicles was slow for the bride. We asked if she'd be okay and ready to go to a Mexican restaurant for 8. She said yes, so we continued on. Then the bride started puking. The friend driving had to pull over 4 times for the bride to puke. Some of us suggested maybe ordering pizza, getting into comfy clothes, and watching movies instead of going to this Mexican restaurant that would turn into a club at 10 p.m. The bride refused and ended up passing out on the bathroom floor back at her condo. I had to go get her some electrolytes. She also puked 2 more times at home. That's a bad day. We ended up getting ready to leave for the restaurant over an hour later than planned because of the bride passing out. Not a big deal. Now, keep in mind, the bridesmaid that planned most of the bachelorette trip is pregnant and in her first trimester and was dealing with a terrible cold as well. So we got to the restaurant and the bride was angry that it was their late night menu because it was after 9 p.m. She also didn't want to drink anything. This is important to know for the rest of the story. So we ate some appetizers and waited for the restaurant to turn into a club. I have not been to a club in probably over a decade. Thank God, honestly. If you guys know the Burger King story, you know. It's a good thing that Joss is not going to clubs anymore. We can all agree. Now, the girls that were there for her all didn't know that we were clubbing except for 2 of them. So when we heard about this, some girls were confused. Well, especially since she said she wasn't drinking. Or didn't want to. So 10 p.m. rolled around and the dance floor opened. The only things the bride wanted to do on her bachelorette weekend was get drunk and dance. But she wouldn't dance until 12 a.m. At that point, she had made the entire group annoyed because we drove all the way to this place that she loves just for her to not want to dance. Out of 9 girls, 6 of us all hate clubbing, but we were all there to do what she wanted. So her sister, who is her maid of honor, explained to her that if she wasn't going to dance, we would be leaving. It took another half hour of getting the bride out on the dance floor, and at this point, the bridesmaid who planned everything was nauseous from the smell of vaping and needed to go outside, and she asked me to come with her, the one that's pregnant. That's when she started crying. I asked her what was wrong, and the bride, who is the bridesmaid's future sister-in-law, had said to another girl that she just wanted me and her to leave because we weren't even dancing with her when we had just danced a bunch. But the pregnant one was cramping, tired, and nauseous, and felt that everything she was doing wasn't good enough for the bride. At the end of all that, we left at 1:30 a.m. Everyone was mad at the bride for making such a scene, and then of all things, wanting to go clubbing and not even get tipsy. She wasted everyone's time and wasn't grateful for anything that was planned for her. She complained the entire time and made us all feel horrible for trying to plan something fun. Now that this weekend is done, we are counting down for when her wedding is over. This has been a crap show. I have so many thoughts and opinions, but none of them are nice. None of them are friendly. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that. But I think you guys can guess how I feel about that. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's all I'll say. Absolutely ridiculous and inconsiderate. Exhausting. Next update, a bit over a month later. We are now at June 19th, 2025. The wedding from hell is this Saturday, and the groom texted the pregnant bridesmaid this to pass along to the rest of us. I have 0 words. Who would even send this? What the actual heck? And don't you worry, we got a screenshot of said message. I can't even begin to guess what this man is about to say, but I already know it's gonna piss me off. So buckle up. All right. Let's see. So apparently this is a group text message, group chat with groom, wedding party, bride. So the maid of honor in this message is picking up and says, "We will all make sure that bride has a blast." Then the OOP of the story, one of the bridesmaids, says, "It basically just transpired overnight, so we're all sort of pivoting to make it work." Another bridesmaid said, "I was under the impression that blank had brought this up, as she has told me that this was the plan a while back and just let me know yesterday that things had changed." Heart emoji. Groom then says and chimes in the group chat saying, "Going forward, if anything else comes up, could we just make sure there's a bit more communication? This is my and blank's first time being part of a Canadian wedding party, so we want to make sure we're doing everything right to ensure blank's wedding lives up to everything she has dreamed of. This was not brought up with us, at least not in a way that we understood, but it's okay. Now we're all on the same page." Then the bridesmaid and OOP of this Reddit post said, "This is my first time being part of a wedding too. Part of it is a lot of last minute things." Honestly, I don't even know why groom is getting involved. I think that's just unnecessary, you know? I think the bride and her wedding party should just keep everything between them. We have another update 3 days later. Oh, the wedding drama. But first, let's hydrate. I'm sure some of us wish this was a margarita, mojito, or sangria tower, but we need to hydrate. Cheers. It is only fair that I'm honest with you guys about being on hydration station today. I have been on it, but I want you to know that it is 6 p.m. right now, and I am having a coffee before filming. Oh, I haven't had any caffeine today, so that's the validation I'm giving myself, but I just should be honest that I am in fact dehydrating before hydrating in today's set of videos. So cheers to that. All right, we are at June 22nd, 2025. The day began on Friday. After a bunch of thinking, it wasn't worth the fight with the bride to not stay the night, so I stayed. 2 of her bridesmaids tried to make the excuse that it would make more sense for them to drive an hour and a half back home and then come back at 8 a.m. the next day. So we bullied them into staying, even though they tried to say they wouldn't sleep well. Well, it didn't matter if we didn't have a good night's sleep because it wasn't our wedding. We got up early on Saturday morning after getting into bed at 1 a.m. and we hit the ground running. The hairstylist showed up at 8 and that began the getting ready process. We only technically had to be ready for around 3 p.m., but with 6 girls to get their hair done, it does take time. Anyways, we had brunch, got our hair done, and watched the bride battle with doing her own makeup and her eyelashes and not cooperating with her burgundy mascara. I just laughed. I was in the process of putting false eyelash clusters on and doing my own makeup to really invest in her issues. She was being incredibly critical of everyone's makeup, telling them to blend more, bronze more, and make it super glowy. The bride didn't give anyone anything except her sister, whom she bought shorts and a sweater from Aritzia. I was a little confused, but maybe not giving your bridal party anything to thank them for going through hell with you is normal. I've never experienced that, but okay. Her parents also don't like to use air conditioning, so the temperature in the house was so bad. 26 degrees Celsius, approximately 79 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what it says here. I'm not doing the math. And we were in shorts and hoodies as requested by the bride. My makeup is sweating off at that point then. So no worries about being glowy. It's gonna be glowing with sweat. Then, about 15 minutes before the photographer arrived, the bride sent me and another bridesmaid to go and get the wedding bands and other small details from the groom because she forgot about flat lay shots, so we rushed to the groom's house to go and get those things, and we made it back with a few minutes to spare. During the rush of everything going on, the bride was still finishing her vows. We eventually went outside for the bride to have a private moment with her mom, to put her dress on, and do her first look with her dad. That is when things continued to drag on. The bride was freaking out and panicking through it all. Then we did our first look with her, got her back inside, and prepped to do her first look with her soon-to-be husband, and then things started to fall even further behind. We at that point needed to be at the wedding ceremony location for 5 p.m. for bridal party photos, and the bride and groom only showed up for 5:30. At this point, we were running around trying to make sure last-minute things were in place. We started to learn and hear about things that had gotten lost in the midst of moving things under the cover of the tent in case the potential rain came overnight. The guys were sent to the ceremony location the morning of to put everything back, and the bride should have known that things were going to get lost if there wasn't anyone there to make sure they got the location of items right. She had a friend as her day of coordinator, and that person should have been there. Yeah, you can't just have a bunch of people moving things and expect them to know where it goes. The first thing lost was the guest book. It was placed into a box and then put off where no one knew where it went. We ended up finding it about 10 minutes before the ceremony. Then when we were trying to find the pens, the bride said she ended up losing them and we had to find something else. We were on a farm with no house on it, nothing. And every pen and Sharpie we tried didn't work. Then we lost all of the decorations, like flowers that were supposed to go at the guest book table. Then came the wedding party photos. We started with the girls, and I noticed a dark spot on the bride's dress in a few places and realized it was blood. So I said something to the bride, and then that is when crap hit the fan. The bride's period had started. Some may say it's karma, others may say it's unfortunate. This is where I had to laugh because I knew this would happen because our cycles have always been 1 week apart. I just had mine. So obviously panic set in for her and we had to fix this. So we rushed her to the porta potties to help her fix things. We used double-sided sticky tape and safety pins to get things covered because she didn't want to use a tied to-go pen. Then the groom started yelling at me to go and get safety pins and I had zero idea where those were and someone came with a few. This is why you make a wedding day emergency kit. We eventually fixed the situation and we were already behind with the bride and groom needing to start family photos. We continued to run around even more and then the bridal party started to get hungry. Both the bride and groom said they would be giving us supper and they didn't give us any. So you can only imagine, after being in the heat all day and only having brunch, you get a little hungry later in the evening. What about the pregnant lady and baby? They need to be fed. So no supper. And it quickly moved to 7 p.m. and it was time to start the ceremony. A 7 p.m. ceremony? Holy hell. And we had to get the bride's veil back in after she took it out for bridal party photos. And I gave it to her dad with the bobby pins to put in the back of the camper that was on the yard. And he lost the bobby pins, so another bridesmaid took a bunch out of her hair to secure the bride's veil. Top tier friend right there. Then, while we were waiting to all go out, the bride was pissed about how the bottles of wine and water were arranged on the tables and started to yell at us to rearrange it all. And she was also MIA for 20 minutes before this, and we eventually found her freaking out in the camper. The ceremony began. It went well. No one fainted, thank goodness. But I thought the bride would after she'd only had a sip of water all day and almost no food. Then we all stayed until 3 a.m. to make the couple happy. The disorganization of so many aspects of this wedding was enough to blast me into orbit. Being yelled at by the groom to bring safety pins when I had no idea where they were was horrible. Some of her bridesmaids were useless and just kept sitting down instead of helping with things that were needed. The groom was also calling the bride a bunch of times during the morning because he didn't know where things went, and it made her freak out, but we couldn't tell him to quit it. So glad the wedding is over. Finally, the bride is going to continue working towards her master's and will be living an hour and a half away from her husband during the week for the next 6 years. She will also keep trying to get into medical school during this time. So I'm not quite sure how you have a successful marriage when you only see each other 2 days a week, but she wants to keep living with her roommates and her husband doesn't want to move close to her and to have the opportunity to actually live together. We got some top comments with a lot more details of the wedding day, so let's get to it. Someone commented, "What in the world is a dessert wedding? Some people do that when it's too cheap to properly feed their guests. I feel sorry for the pregnant woman not getting adequately fed. What a trashy and inconsiderate bride." Hold on, are you telling me dessert wedding is a thing where you only provide desserts? I am literally sneaking in food in my purse at that point. OOP responded and said, "We only had dessert, not an actual meal, and a bunch of their aunts made dessert, so they didn't even pay for it. But yeah, it's a real cheap way of getting out of making sure that guests are fed." I've been to one other wedding like this, but they had an appetizer bar which was stocked all night and it was delicious. I have never heard of this in my entire life. Next comment, "Was this part of the update where you helped the bride to bully 2 bridesmaids to stay the night when they didn't want to? She was awful, but you also behaved awfully just so you could make her happy. This whole situation sounds insufferable." Yeah, she just kind of briefly touched on that. OOP said, "I mean it when I say it that we were kind to these girls. We explained nicely that the bride wanted this but never communicated it clearly. She lives with these girls and she wanted them to be there and not make the long drive home. They would have had 4 hours of sleep. We said to them that if they stayed, they would get a lot more sleep. I shouldn't have said bullying because we didn't do that. We stayed for the bride. It's what she wanted. The entire wedding wasn't about us. If I didn't want to stay, I didn't have to, but we did it out of kindness for her because it was something that she really wanted. The wedding wasn't about us. It was about the bride and trying to do something to make her happy. The girls who lived further away ended up sleeping super well and was grateful to have stayed, and they were staying the night at the bride's parents' house after the wedding anyways." All right. Now this is apparently what OOP said on the bride treating the bridal party so badly. OOP wrote, "Yeah, she did treat us like crap. The stress of a wedding is no excuse to treat us like that. I get that weddings bring out the worst in people. On my own, I'm being considerate of the fact that my maid of honor will be 8 months pregnant, but she's still determined to be up there with me, and I've said to her that she doesn't have to. But we are making sure a lawn chair will come with pictures so she can sit down in between. My sister will also be 4 months postpartum and she still wants to be at my wedding. She will be nursing at the head table and I don't care because I love my new nephew. The bride did not let her nephew come to their wedding." Honestly, it's just too much wedding stuff for me these days. I don't know if I've ever heard one positive wedding story on Reddit. It's always chaos and friendships being ruined and people hating their family and their in-laws. What is happening to the joy of weddings? If you guys got stories like this, just put it in the comments so we can all enjoy. You know, stay classy out there, stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.